Mario, you know, yesterday I make a video and I tell you in that video, the way things are going in this country, there is necessity for me to take my Amebo from current affair and go to historical affair. Why do I say this? Because I have noticed there is rancor, there is dispute, there is hatred among several parts of Nigeria, and I want to know why. As a normal human being, growing up as a child, I'm lucky because I am an Edo boy who was born in Ile-Ife, Osun State, Nigeria. So it will mean that to a very large extent, all the ethnic slurs around me, and I couldn't really pick it up because apart from the fact that I'm in a foreign land, I'm also probably one of the people that they even use ethnic slur against. But because my people is much smaller, maybe it did not enter well. But of course, around where I grew up, ethnic slurs such as Abokini, Amebo, lot of ethnic slurs. I just begin to wonder, how can I just dislike somebody because they don't come from where I come from? Think about it when you are a kid. When you see somebody that is maybe in your class, do you think, oh, this guy, I just don't like you? And why don't I like you? Because you are Yoruba, because you are outside. That's why I just don't like. Why? Has it always been like this? That's why I talk, say, it's important for us to go back in our history. Let's go and say, what really transpired that led to hatred? Why I want to talk about this? One movie come out a few days ago, and this movie has been causing rancor. This is a sad type of rancor. Why so many people are lauding the movie and saying, this could not be a more perfect timing of a film? Others are saying, this movie represents a certain part of Nigeria in a bad light. It casts them in a bad light. Other Nigerians are not saying, but this thing is what is happening in the country. Other Nigerians are not saying, but you cannot tell me all the others are terrorists. Other Nigerians are not saying, in this same movie that you are watching, can't you see, even a pastor was one of the people that was leading the kidnap? Does that mean all pastors are kidnappers? A lot of conversation have arisen from this movie. But most important, what is important to note is that a lot of people believe that their own sides were unjustly treated by the film. Other people believe that everything was fairly represented. Some people believe that they did not even count their own side properly. A lot of ethnic battles. How did we get here? And that's why I'm going to be attempting in this my own Amebo. I'm going to attempt to talk about all the history from all parts of Nigeria and even Africa at large, because we are all connected one way or another. And today's history lesson is going to start from the wonderful year or terrible year of 1953. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to quickly note, this my journey through is the moment that I saw one tweet on Twitter, let's say a few days ago, that points me to 1953. As I begin to unravel more and more, I discovered it's already connected. That 1953 is connected to the Aburi Accord of 1967, connected to the coup d'etat in 1966, connected to the Nigerian Civil War in 1967. It also took me a little bit back in time, because before all this, before Nigeria came to be, there was the British, and the British took over around that kind 1890 something, where they conquer the Benin Empire, the Great Benin Empire, one of the greatest treasures of African history, where they conquer even Jaja of Opobo around sometime around the 1890s. That's the middle belt, that's Niger Delta, one of the great kingdoms of Niger Delta. It's going to also take us to our ancient Oyo Empire. It's going to take us to how Usman Dan Fodio, one of the great scholars of the North, how he freed the North from oppression in the Holy Jihad Wars, which is one war that is widely reported as negative when it was actually a positive war. Ladies and gentlemen, why I want to start from 1953 is not because I want to apportion any blame. In fact, why I'm going to go back in history is just to remind us as Nigerians and as Africans, at some point in time, there is a certain power that we have always with. And this power, we have used it to do wonderful things before. Before they come and daring waru, that's before they come and scatter and pour sansan inside our gari, there is already something that we are doing, and we were doing it well. If not, they will not live where they are to come and conquer us. Yeah. But I want to start from 1953 because that is the first recorded history of ethnic clash in Nigeria. To help me with this historical lesson, I've gone and checked ChatGPT. I also checked Wikipedia. Unfortunately, many of these stories, I feel they are underreported. They are not as accurate enough as our own history, and it is our responsibility as Nigerians and Africans to not only go and search for our history, but also to find ways to include our history into modern solutions. Even if we gotta build our own solutions that is gonna reflect our history properly and gonna take us into the future. It's not time for all this power tussle. What are we tussling about? We need to figure out, why do we act the way we do? Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So 1953, something happened in Nigeria. Now at this point in time, British he's still the one that is ruling Nigeria. So obviously they don't want to let us go. You know, in that time, these people, they are gaining a lot of economic stuff from Nigeria. So when you are collecting, are you gonna want to let the person out? You're not gonna do. You want to continue collecting, but because there is already pressure around the world, and they have already said, everybody, it's time for independence. Let us go. Now there was a huge lacuna in Nigeria because the south and the north, they were a little bit different. Now the north was they are doing constitution, cleaning them, planning and all of that stuff. So they were doing like a conference. The north, they come together as NPC, Northern Progressive Conference. Now the south, on the other hand, they were divided into Action Group and NCNC. Now inside this their conference that they are doing now, the south people now say, there is no reason why we should not collect this independence now. So we were moving a motion, this independence, so let's get it in year 1956. Ṣùgbọ́n the north, you say, no, this is too early. Why are we rushing to come and collect this independence? You say, let us chill for now. Let's continue to be talking, and we are going to accept the independence is going to come as next as practicable. That is where Rancor starts. That is where Obodiyan starts. Because the South, they are like, what do you mean? You want to do as next as practicable? When this is 1953, we are saying, we want to collect it in 1956. That is not too long now. Let's collect our independence and let's be running our stuff by ourselves. You need to also understand, around this time, there is a lot of revolution going on in the world. In fact, this is just a few years after, like 10 years after World War II, that shake the world. So the world was advancing, and Africa did not want to be left behind. That's why we had a lot of African scholars who were saying, we want to be independent and we want to move alongside with the world. But what Europe do in that particular period, is what we are still suffering Africa till now, and we don't even realize it. Anyway, so back to the conference we are talking about now. So NPC say this is too early, but the southern people are like, there's no reason why we shouldn't do it now. So but after NPC say they don't want to independence yet, so somebody in the Northern Progressive now move, let's do adjournment of this constitutional meeting. The people from the south, they now say, this is delay tactics that people are using. We're not going to take this. So those people now walk out. Mind me why this constitutional this conference, it happened in Lagos. So when the south people, that's the AG and NCNC, all the representatives, they walk out of the small parliament that they set up for us that time, then the NPC people, after those ones now come outside the meeting, that's why they start to insult them. They start to insult. In fact, ChatGPT writes, this that they said against them, they say they are that's what they call it, slaves to the British. People they call them, they are illiterate. ChatGPT say they call them different, all sorts of names. This now will make the northern people to be angry, and it is reported in Wikipedia they were so angry that when they go back to their side, they bring out an eight clinical document plan, and they plan to secede. Yeah, me well. They say at that point in time they were so angry that they decide, they don't even want to do this Nigeria. They want to secede. Ladies and gentlemen, I studied law for 7 years. Law University. 1 more year in Nigerian law. I read government things. I did art. But this is the first time I'm hearing anything like this in it. Is that not shocking? Moving further, now the South were not okay with just waiting around. So they now decided to send delegation to the North. What happens is that people should go and meet them in that place. Let's see where we can convince them. We should fight for our independence. So they now send a delegation led by Chief Samuel Akitola. I hope I correct. Yes, I think I correct. You now send that delegation. Let's go and do rally. Let's go and motivate people. We can have our independence now, and that is where problems are. Okay, now a little bit of backstory before I go further in this conversation. This time we're not talking about 2022 or 2010. Even gone to year 2000. The way information used to circulate back in the day is not the same with now. There is no way for you to even circulate information except through word of mouth, or maybe you see it in newspaper. And who is controlling the newspaper that time? Now, every information that is available to you is the one maybe your people that you said. So imagine there are different types of people. Now, it's what your people come and tell you that you are going to hear. There's no really nuance of the situation. Anyway, so as the delegation go from here to go and convince important to also note, another bad story to note is that when British first come, the way they operate in the South is not the way they operate in the North. So in the North, the way they are operating, actually the British, they operate with a minimal interference. So what they now do in the North, they do indirect rule. So it means they leave all the emir in charge. So it was now as if it's the North people that are ruling themselves normally. But in the South, they don't rule like that, because ordinarily now, first in Igbo kingdoms, there is no really king like that. So what they were doing was a decentralized democracy. But in the West, there were kings. But these kings were separated, and so the British had to come in. So they were the ones that were running things things in the south, which led to a lot more resistance, even also a lot more education in the south than in the north. In fact, the British intentionally deprive the north of education. Are you following me? All right. So it's important to note that the British were very strategic. They make sure they continued Islamic education in the north, but Western education they no even touch am. So by the 50s and 60s in the south, there have already been a lot more advanced Western education in south than north. So understand why the south and the north may have been in different places with regards to independence. And I dare say as well, it's very possible because a lot of things are lost in interpretation. It's very possible that the people that think they are more educated, it's possible that they were using it against the people that they felt were not educated. It's possible because even nowadays, someone that have education, there's a way we be talking to someone that don't go to school, and you think is the person over Lord and Alpha and Omega. So a lot of things could have happened that led to this. Anyway, so they now take the delegation to Kano. Okay, they want to go and convince people about independence. That's where fracas started. The NPC supporters say they must not do any rally or any meeting. But the people from the AG, but they just want to have conversation. So on the fateful day, I think May 15. So the thing happened between May 15 to 17 of 1953. So they are now in Colonial Hotel. That is the representative from Action Group. They are in Colonial Hotel in Kano. That's how a mob now rise. They now start to stone people in that place because even the Northern Native authorities have already cancelled their permission to hold their meeting. So the mob now started to stone the hotel. But the authorities came in and they could not violate the security of the hotel. However, this mob, they were not satisfied. They now went to Sabongari. That's where a lot of southerners were staying. History, that's where Wikipedia report to me the initial chants that they were chanting were against Yorubas because apparently the delegation from the Action Group was led by Yoruba. Ṣùgbọ́n peradventure and unfortunately, when they reached Sabongari, most of the people who were staying there were Igbo businessmen. So it means that the majority of the casualty of that particular riot in Kano in 1953 were Igbo people because a lot of shops were looted, a lot of people were killed, etc. Now, ChatGPT report 36 lives were lost and over 200 injured. Wikipedia report 46 lives were lost and over 200 injured. Shugba, I want you to think for a second. How will the British, who at that particular point in time did not want to let go of colonial rule, how do you think they are going to report that particular riot? Again, I mentioned there is no phone, there is no Twitter, there is no mode of communication, so it's just word of mouth. I want you to also think about it. How do you think the people who suffer a lot of loss, how do you think they will go and communicate to their people at home about the things that happened? It was that particular moment in East that ethnic distrust arose in Nigeria. So a lot of people were casualties, and it's very possible that the leaders of the Northern Progressive Congress had no hand in it. It was probably just the mob that just decided, there's a way that things transpire. There's many times, what's it called now? The issue will just happen. People will not know how violence starts. We can just be one person that will just say one thing that another person will not like, and before you know it, the issue have escalated. That's where the issue starts, and that's where this trust. But guess what? The British, they see they have already win a certain war because now they can prove that these guys are not ready to be together. And what did they do afterward? What they do is nothing short of a travesty. In next episode, I'm going to be explaining what the British do after that, and I'm also going to be going back in time a little bit before I go forward. I will go back in time to explore what the British do when they came in the late 1890s. Hopefully, if you can learn from this history, we can prevent future occurrence or anything else. Sayonara. Again, I'm going to charge all of us today. Go and search a little bit into your history. The one that is not on Google or Wikipedia. Go and ask your daddy. Go and ask your mommy. Tell them to tell you the undiluted truth. They should not tell you why they hate Igbo, why they hate Yoruba, why they hate Hausa. You are not interested in that. You just want to know history. We don't hate each other. It's just a lot of miscommunication. And if you don't solve it, we cannot move forward. Thanks and God bless.